All right. Yeah, we've been actually looking in on these pedals recently, and there's a lot of options. We're not quite sure which one would be best to do. So, how? You said this one's like a new metal style?
Yeah, this is kind of like, this is pretty new. It has like a real up-to-date kind of a fuzzier distortion, but it's really got a filter in it that just really gives you that more modern. Part of what's happening here, and like all these pedals, they have blends on them, which means that if I keep the blend down, I'm going to hear my dry signals. I bring the blend up, I'm only bringing up my distortion. So the blend stays on what they call unity gain. That would be like 0 on a board. So that way you always have your fat end. So if you're using guitar pedals to kind of get this thing, you're going to lose your bottom. So then, we okay? So how this is working, this particular one that's voice modern has a low level separate from the high, and the low has its own sidechain compressor. So it's just on the low. Now as I bring in the high, I'm bringing in my distortion.
Oh, I see.
And how there's a level, the amount of distortion. I have an EQ that can focus it many different ways.
So is it kind of like you can sort of come up with a middle ground sort of clean and distorted?
Absolutely, and on all these pedals you could go highly distorted and only bring a little of the level in. Or I can go less distorted and bring a lot of the level in and bring, a little more old school that way. And it's very flexible in tone this way as well. For example, these are different high frequencies that the high end targets. So I can refine that, and then the lower mids do the same.
All right, yeah. That one's pretty cool. We also were interested in the Alpha Omega in particular.
The Alpha Omega is really cool. You're going to have an alpha distortion, which is going to be a little more focused than the Omega. The Omega is kind of more of a misbehaving type thing. So if I kick it in, that's more alpha. And let me bring in and here's the Omega. So you can get a blend between the two. And here I have a blend. There's my dry signal. And I'll bring this in some. So you get the idea.
Yeah, it has the blend knob right there too.
So if I keep that down, I'm just using the distortion as an ambient in that case.
Cool.
And so you can see these lines here. They go like this, and like that. So as you move up the line, you're getting more EQ availability.
Yeah. All the way up to Alpha, Omega, Ultra.
Yep, and these guys, you have on and off distortions. You have a master volume as well. And you can have a cabinet simulator where you can go into the computer and change different cab sims.
Really? Okay, like what's something you can probably do with that?
Well, for example, if you're going to be doing direct recording or even direct into a console, when you pick a cabinet simulator, that's going to be really the second half of your tone. And they'll have a varying amount of those to choose from.
So is it kind of like function as a preamp almost?
This is actually a preamp. So essentially all these are preamplifiers focusing, not all of them, most of them are preamp designs, with the focus being the EQ and the distortion, of course.
Yeah.
So if you go to these micro tubes, this is a bit more modern version of this. So if you want something a little more traditional.
A little more vintage?
Yeah, like a SVT maybe, Ampeg type deal. Where these have a little bit different color.
Yeah, oh, you can hear it. You can totally hear it.
Yep. And I have a grunt switch, which puts the low end back in it. I have the tact switch that's going to find a frequency that might clear up your upper mids, that kind of thing. And I have 2 focal points of EQ on my high mids. And then the low mid, same thing. See, one's throatier than the other. Or I can blend more in. Give it more gain.
I gotta say, these look like something that would end up being like a musician's favorite like toy going on right here. You could just spend all day on this sort of stuff. But then I'm guessing, each one of these has a signature sort of function from each other and stuff.
Right. So again, this is the more modern, really focused, dedicated distortion. This here, you can get some crunch quicker. You got some crunch here, and then same here. But this is just a more, you know.
Is there like one thing that we actually are more interested in is something that could be used as both a very good slap style as well as transitioning to more finger-based, not so percussive sounding style. Is there one that does that?
I've been liking these for that because again, you have more availability of EQ. I have three mids, low mids, 3 high mids, so I could really dial in a sound that's going to work for that style. But again, I'm going to leave that gain down for something like that, and this will translate real nice. It's only there on my transients. If I bring more drive in, but you're still hearing that drive signal keeping the bottom end.
That's cool. You can hear the distortion, but you can hear every note perfectly.
Yep, very articulate.
Yeah.
They have this compressor. I don't know if you guys are interested in hearing about that. Or?
Sure.
Okay, the compressor has a Lumina touch system, so there's your ratio. I'm just scrolling by simply touching. Very easy to manipulate. It offers 3 compressors, also a blend, so I get parallel compression where I'm not affected, and I can add in the compression right there. The FET is an 1176 style compressor, so studio.
Oh.
And then I have an SSL bus compressor, so that's a large format console. And then one of their own. So you can do some really cool stuff, get massive amounts of sustain on this. Check it out. Look at how long it holds the LEDs.
Oh, so that sort of shows the sustainability?
Absolutely, because the compressor's often used for sustain. Yeah. If I open up the attack, though, my transients pop through. Hear that air underneath it's grabbing to keep it thick? As opposed to really evening out the spectrum.
So like you would, it's like you wanted the staccato, you just take the thing off, and then when you want the sustain, you put it back on?
If I were going to set it this way. Otherwise, I could typically get good sustain doing this. Now I have a little more conservative setting. I'm going to back off the compression a little bit, so now my articulation can pop through a little bit more.
Okay.
As opposed to, you could hear a little more.
Yeah.
Very tight. Still plenty of sustain in that setting.
Yeah, okay. That's pretty cool, man.
So I've got a closing question. Can you convince me of any reason I shouldn't sell my home and buy all these pedals?
No, actually. You could sleep outside and yet have an array of pedals and everything you ever wanted, and you don't have to worry about ever making your bed.
Yeah, you know what? Fair enough. I don't like making my bed, so you know what? That's a trade-off here. I'll do it. I firmly endorse these.
Cool.
All right. Thank you so much,
Thank
man.
you, guys.
Thank you.